Hey everybody, I'm Frank Hannon. I'm the lead guitarist of Tesla, and I'm also a solo artist. And you are watching LifeMinute TV.
He may best be known as co-founder and lead guitarist of rock band Tesla, but Frank Hannon also has a solo career that spans decades. After losing his father-in-law, Allman Brothers legend Dickey Betts in 24, he turned to his guitar for healing. The result? Reflections, his most personal album to date. He joined us at the LifeMinute studios recently to tell us all about it and play us a few tunes. This is a LifeMinute with Frank Hannon.
Last year, 2024, was a very tough year for my family. We had moved out to Florida and spent the past couple years with my father-in-law, who was terminally ill. And we took care of him and spent time with him and had the honor of being there with him during that time. It was very emotional time, especially for my wife. After he passed away, we were struggling living there because of the weather. And we had horses that we had moved out there. My wife and I train horses and have our animals, and we had moved our whole life there. And in October, there was about 3 hurricanes in a row, bam, 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 of last year. And the third one, Milton, on the news was coming straight for us. And I was like, honey, we've got to get out of here. I was worried that our horses were gonna die. We hightailed it out of there, we evacuated and drove across the country, and one of our horses got sick and we ended up having to put it down. And anyway, enough of that sad story. It was a tough time, and when I finally got home, I was like, I just want to play guitar. That's all I want to do. And so I started playing guitar, and I discovered this really easy to use microphone. It's called Audigo. It's about this big, and it records to your cell phone. And I just started recording ideas with that, playing from my heart, from the pain and the emotion of what we had gone through. My wife would peek in. I would be in my little spare bedroom that used to belong to my daughter. I took over her room, made a studio out of it. My wife would be in the kitchen washing dishes, and she would stop and she'd peek in and go, wow, keep doing that, I'm feeling that. So I kept doing that, and I ended up with 12 songs, and they're all from the heart. Emotionally charged music that uses the guitar to sing. Because I've tried singing in the past, and I'm an okay singer, but I'm not really a very good singer, really. Guitar is my #1 instrument, so I started writing these songs to use the guitar to convey what I was feeling. For the first time that I've done in my whole career, and I've been playing music for 50 years, and I've had a very successful career with Tesla, the band. And I still do. We're out playing shows all the time. People could hear that departure. Even the members of Tesla could hear it. And were like, wow, this is really different, Frank. And they were supportive of it. Because I wasn't trying to sing. I wasn't trying to rock out. I was just playing real genuinely felt guitar. Chord changes, real simple, stripped down, not trying to overproduce anything. Basically just ideas and feelings. Not really even trying to write a song to be a hit or any of that stuff. Just creating songs that had a mood to them, and then titles would come to them pretty easily. Like one of the songs on here is called Walk in the Rain. It was literally written in my head while my wife and I were taking a walk through our neighborhood, and we got dumped on. It was raining and we loved it, and we got home and I had these minor chords going. And I immediately just whipped out the Audigo mic and recorded it within about 30 minutes. And it came out really good, and she was like, don't just throw that out there on social media, save it. So let's fast forward to January, which was 2 months later, and I'd already gathered a bunch of the songs. And I was on a cruise ship out of Florida playing with Tesla, and I had brought the little portable mic, recorded a really slow blues number called Into the Blue that's on the record. Again, I sent it to my wife via email, and she responded and gave me the thumbs up, said, wow, that sounds really pretty. So I sent that to a friend of mine who manages a studio in Nashville that presses vinyl. right there on the spot. They have a vinyl mastering system. Pat Krause is his name, and he works for Universal Music. And he said, wow, Frank, that's some of the best guitar playing I've heard you do. It reminds me of Jeff Beck. I was like, wow, really? That was a compliment. I'd never heard that before about my playing. And he immediately invited me to bring my cell phone that had all the songs recorded in it to his studio and create a vinyl album, which is what I did right here. It's a 12-inch, 180-gram vinyl album. So it went from my cell phone to this vinyl thanks to the technology of this little microphone right here. It just made the recording process so easy. I didn't have to look at a computer. I didn't try to cut and paste anything. It was just play live, put this in front of your guitar and record it, and it ended up being my vinyl record. Plank Spankin' was recorded live for the studio version in my spare bedroom that's on the record. But I wanted to do even more live version of it, so I took the backing tracks from the record and imported them into my phone. Walked out to my neighbor's field out there, and I remembered he had an old tractor that was sitting out there, and I love the look. I've been wanting to take pictures with that tractor forever because it's so cool looking. I'm like, man, that tractor's cool, and it's just sitting out there by itself. I'm gonna just haul an amp over there and plug it in. There's a well house over there, had an outlet. So I plugged in my amp and I hollered at Ed, hey Ed, come on over here, buddy. And he came over and I set up the Audigo mic in front of the amp and asked him to use my cell phone and videotape me playing the song. It was a lot of fun. You know, we did it out in that field, and Ed, he's a tall guy. So when he had my phone, he was up here. It looked like it's on a gimbal or a crane or something, you know. He did a great job, Ed. Ed's a great friend. He's my neighbor, and he helped me a lot during that time that I told you about where we were in Florida for 3 years. Ed watched my house. He and his wife, they were guarding my house while it was locked up. And he's a great neighbor, great friend, and he even gave me a ride to the airport to get here last night. So I want to give Ed some props. But Ed has that old tractor sitting out there, and I wanted to capture a live version of Plank Spankin' for this New York trip specifically, because that jumpin' blues feeling, it came out pretty magical. It was just the first take. It was about 5 in the afternoon and the sun was still up. And then I did 5 takes of it in a row. Okay, let's try it again. And it just gradually, the sun was going down, the shade came in, and I wasn't playing it as spirited as I did on that take. On that video, that's the first take, and it was real spontaneous and fun, and that's always the best. Well, I started out sitting on my grandma's lap at the Wurlitzer organ that she had in the living room when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And that was my first introduction to music, was on an organ, you know. And I loved it, and I still do love to play a B3 organ. But my love for guitar came in the mid-'70s. 1976, I was 10 years old. There was a lot of music in our house. Creedence Clearwater Revival, Santana, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, all the San Francisco music. Because we're east of San Francisco, about an hour. And that local scene there was a big influence on me. And my mom, being a hippie from that era. Between my mom and my grandma, they really supported me as a young kid playing music. And so I broke my leg on a dirt bike when I was 11. My older cousins, specifically Mike, my older cousin, had already began playing guitar. And I just wanted to play really bad, and I was laid up in a cast with my leg up on all summer long, and it was in pain. And so he brought over a guitar, and my stepdad had a little nylon string, and I would just lay there on the couch with a broken leg playing it and listening to records. You know, I'm doing this. This is the action of putting the needle on songs and replaying it, trying to learn by ear. So the whole summer of 1977, I just did that until I was able to walk again. And then once I got out of that, that's all I wanted to do. No more skateboarding, no more dirt bike riding, none of that, just guitar. And by the time I was 14, 15 years old, I was already playing with older kids and in the nightclubs, and took a test and got out of high school early so I could pursue what we ended up doing. You know, I'm very lucky and very blessed to come from South Sacramento to have had an over 40-year career with Tesla. I was always the youngest guy in the band, and I didn't realize at the time what we were accomplishing when I was 16, 17 years old. We had met a manager guy who owned a car lot, and he was really driven. He would drive us. You know, if we were late, he would yell at us and practically beat us up for being late to band practice, you know, because he had a warehouse he would let us practice in. And he let us use the cars that he had on the lot to show up. The stipulation was, you got to show up to practice if I'm going to let you use these cars, you know. One thing led to another, with him introducing us to Ronnie Montrose, who was a guitar hero in San Francisco at the time. He discovered Sammy Hagar, and that was a big deal. And we would drive to LA and work with these people, thanks to Steve, our manager I was telling you about. And they bought me a little 4-track recorder for my birthday when I turned 16. And I started writing the songs that ended up being on Tesla's first album with that 4-track. One of the best memories, though, is when we finally got signed to a record company, and they flew us to New York, and we went up to, the first time we ever came here to New York in 1985. It was like, wow, you know, just tripping out. We went up to upstate New York to record our first record, and again, I was only 18 years old, and looking back on it now, I can't believe being that young and experiencing one thing after another like that, because then after that, we went out on tour with David Lee Roth, who at the time was a huge rock star, and Def Leppard, and Alice Cooper, and just one thing after another started happening for us. And being an 18, 19-year-old kid, just going with it. And now looking back on it, going, wow, I can't believe that happened, you know. I probably would have waited till much later to get married and all that stuff, you know, because I'm happily married now, and I wouldn't change anything, actually, because those things led me to the life I have now. I would probably have told myself back then, being the person I am now, to not smoke so much weed and not spend time recovering from being hungover and all that destructive behavior. I would have probably told myself to avoid that, because, you know, there's only so much time. And I spent a lot of time trying to recover, you know? So I would have probably changed that, if anything. Still to this day, we play Modern Day Cowboy, which is the first song that we put out. It's one of my favorite songs to play on the guitar, because it's got some exciting guitar riffs in it. But even more than that, the lyrics that JK, our singer, came up with, you know, are still ringing true today. You know, the third verse is talking about the USA and the USSR. It's like we didn't know then that even still now there'd be all this stuff going on in the news, you know. So that's one of my favorite songs that I'm proud of. Love Song was one of our biggest hits that we fought for. The record company didn't feel it was commercial at the time, and we had to really fight to put it on the record, and it ended up being our biggest hit because it starts off with the mellow acoustic, and then it doesn't stick to the normal formula for hits songs of the 80s. And so that's one of my favorites. And then the other one that we do is called What You Give. Can't think about nothing but good love. What you give. I love the lyrical message in that. It's the most simple, heartfelt guitar riff that just plays some very simple notes, but every time I play it live, I'll just take a breath and I'll wait for the audience to calm down. And then as soon as I pick that first note, they recognize it and they cheer. And there's nothing better than that feeling of when they recognize one of your songs that you wrote that is so simple, but they like it. So What You Give is one of my favorites. I really like Marcus King a lot. My brother-in-law, Dickey Betts, is a great guitar player, man. He's a chip off the old block, but he even takes it to his own level of playing. I love Lucas Nelson. I remember Lucas Nelson when he first came out, he had a band called Promise of the Real, and they were a little bit more edgier than what he's doing now. I love what he's doing now, but back then he was more like a Neil Young, Jimi Hendrix vibe, and he's amazing. And there's a guitarist that I've stumbled on named Jonathan Stout that plays swing guitar so effortlessly with the chords that he plays. And it's kind of like music that takes you back to the Roaring '20s or something, like dum-da, dum-da, dum-da. And when I hear it, it fascinates me because I would love to be able to play like that. So I'm hoping to take some lessons from him, actually. I'm going to try to get him on the phone. I met Dickey, 2001, so 24 years I got to know him, and we connected more on a level of hanging out on the couch or going golfing and joking around and talking. We played together here and there, but mostly just hanging out, and I'd listen to him speak, and I always admired his creativeness and his dynamic personality. You'd be like listening to him and go, wow, he's got so much wisdom. And then he would just crack a joke and you'd be like, what? Where did that come from? So he was a very dynamic person, and he treated me very well as his son-in-law, and I miss him a lot. He always had these sayings that stuck, like when I first met him, he encouraged me to sing. We were passing a guitar around in this hotel room one night, and he was playing Jimmy Rogers and yodeling and just blowing my mind, and then he'd hand me the guitar and I'd be like, okay, and then he would like, hey man, come on, what are you doing? Why don't you sing something? So he encouraged me to do it. And then one of the things he said to me was, man, you got to keep on swinging because this is a tough business and you're going to get knocked down. You're going to always get knocked down. He goes, we had disco and, I lost my friends left and right in my band, and I had to keep getting up and keep on swinging. He was a fighter, that little guy, man. And I say little because he was a little package, man. He was a dynamo guy, and a very dynamic person. So he rubbed off on me in those ways as far as inspiring me to keep on swinging and don't give up and play guitar and just keep on doing what you feel and love and be true to yourself. Music provides an escape, and it also provides a theme or a soundtrack to their life or what they're going through at certain times. And that's why certain people, will have a certain song that takes them back to a great memory that they'll always love as some of their favorite songs. It depends on the time that you experienced it. And I think that music does that for the listener. I'll always remember some of the first songs that I heard that still stick with me, like Dream On by Aerosmith. I remember the first time hearing that when I was a little kid at the community swimming pool, and it was playing in the background. I'll always remember that memory. So I think music creates memories and stimulates memories for people. Recently, since we've been home, we've really discovered the joy of gardening, and been growing peppers and pickling them. Yeah, seriously, creating a broth and putting some vinegar and some water and some garlic and some sugar and salt and boiling it and taking the peppers off of my pepper plants and slicing them up and putting them in there, and that's been a lot of fun. I guess those are the things you do in your late 50s. So I like doing that, but I also enjoy horses and my dogs and cleaning up the yard, landscaping. I like to be outdoors. There's no way I could do a job in an office building. I don't think I'd have to. If I didn't play guitar, I'd be outdoors doing something. Well, what's next for me? I'm still writing more music in this genre with the guitar. I'm still discovering new things with the guitar. That's what I love about guitar. And even Les Paul said this himself, that you'll never unlock all the mysteries of it. It'll always torment you as a guitarist, because you'll always discover that you don't know something and then you want to learn it. You know, like I had mentioned that guitarist Jonathan Stout, the way he plays, I want to learn some of that stuff. And so I'm going to continue writing more instrumental music. I hope to get some of my music placed in film or soundtracks, because most people that hear it say we could see that or hear that in a film of some sort. So I'm going to pursue that. I got a new video for a song that's very cinematic. It's called This Is Goodbye. My wife plays a little acting role in it, and it was filmed in an old cemetery from the settlers in my county that I live in Northern California, where the gold rush came in 1849, and all the gold miners and the cowboys and stuff that lived in that era are buried in this graveyard, and they invite you to come there and take pictures and stuff. So we filmed a video for this song there, and it came out really great. I'm like, wow, this really came out better than I thought it would. So I'm hoping that that will get looked at, and the right people will get the idea to maybe put it in some film work or something, you know, cinematic stuff. Multiple things inspire me creatively. The quest for learning new styles and learning new chords on the guitar is inspiring. That, what I was just talking about, that quest to learn more. The inspiration really comes mostly from the emotions that I'm feeling, and if I'm contemplating things or feeling a certain way, if I pick up a guitar and start strumming some chords and it really is reflecting what I'm feeling, then that inspires me to pursue it and record it and listen back to it. And the recording process is fun, especially with the Audigo microphone, because it's so easy to do. And listening back to what you've just created and then going, wow, I just kind of created that out of nothing, you know, just from some emotion. That is always very rewarding when you can listen back. And then even further is when you play it for somebody else and they feel the same way and they react to it. That interaction between me as an artist and them as a listener, there's nothing like that feeling of interacting. And so that inspires me creatively. Best piece of life advice: realize the value of time. Try to manage it as a priority and how important it is, and realize that the people you love are so important, and how you spend your time with them is so important. And realize the value of time and realize the value of the people in your family that you love, and put those two together. Okay, this song that I'm going to play for you is my latest single off the Reflections album. The music of this song really reflects how I was feeling after experiencing loss and grief. And sometimes, you know, even if you get to say goodbye to someone in their last days, it's not enough. And sometimes you don't get to say goodbye to someone that you love. So this music was written at 5 a.m. when I was saying goodbye to my wife as she was on her way to the airport to say goodbye at her dad's memorial service. And it came to me very quickly and naturally, and I'm going to stop talking about it and play it for you now. This is called This Is Goodbye. Ha ha. All right. This next song here, you never know what you're going to get because I rarely ever play it the same way twice, except for the intro. That's it. After that, after the first 10 seconds, it's just on like the break of dawn, improvising. Okay, so this is a song that improvises in the key of B to E, kind of like a jumpin' 1-4-5 blues, and it's fun to make stuff up. So here we go. This is a song about playing a guitar, and this is called Plank Spankin'. Woo! So good. Live without a net on that one.
To hear more of this interview, visit our podcast, LifeMinute TV, on iTunes and all streaming podcast platforms.